When most people think of Chris Griffin, they just see the awkward, slow-witted middle child.
Yeah, and they also have an orange Julius. Just trying to keep the conversation going.
But if you pay close attention, Chris actually has a track record of doing some incredibly questionable things.
Wow, I am gonna have to write to somebody about this.
Today, we're looking at the most sus Chris Griffin moments in Family Guy. Let's start the show. Kicking off our sus list with Season 21, Episode 20, Adult Education. What happens when a teenager is desperate to find an extracurricular activity for his yearbook? Well, he somehow ends up co-directing highly inappropriate adult films with his high school principal. Let's break it down. It all starts when Chris brings home his brand new yearbook. Lois flips through the pages and is super disappointed to find exactly 0 pictures of her son.
Chris, honey, I keep telling you, you need to get involved in extracurricular activities.
She tells him he desperately needs to get involved in some extracurricular activities. Now, Chris definitely partakes in plenty of activities behind closed doors after school, but nothing you'd ever want immortalized in a school yearbook. He tries out a few regular clubs like lacrosse and public speaking.
I'll give it my best shot. For sure, and most of all, Kelvin.
He even meets a kid named Kelvin who is quite the cunning linguist. Honestly, Kelvin had it coming. Just drop the Len join society as an acceptable Kevin buddy.
That's Jason. He's like hilarious.
So I don't have to be a Peter to join?
We're full.
When normal clubs don't work out, Chris goes back to his favorite solo indoor hobby. But while watching a spicy video, he notices the set looks incredibly familiar, like exactly like his homeroom. And that's because it is his homeroom.
Oh my god, Principal Shepard's making school!
Chris discovers that Principal Shepard has been running a secret adult film production right inside the school. Now, Chris is basically the Rain Man of smut. He remembers every single gross detail he's ever seen and realizes he has enough evidence to take Shepard down. But Shepard is smart. He realizes Chris is an absolute expert, so instead of fighting him, he brings him into the production. Chris actually takes the job very seriously, even yelling cut to get a cigarette out of a shot because kids might be watching. Thank you, Chris, for protecting the innocence of the youth.
Cut! Get that cigarette out of the shot. Kids are gonna watch this.
Everything is going great until Lois accidentally stumbles onto the set and discovers the horrible truth.
Boy.
Mom? What are you doing here?
Well, I didn't want you doing argument sports on an empty stomach, so Wait.
The worst part, she catches them surrounded by Crocs and Arby's. Seriously, you do not want to be wearing open-toed shoes on a sticky set like that.
Mrs. Griffin?
Principal Shepard, are you in on this too?
Certainly not. I have no idea what's going on here.
Before Lois and the angry PTA moms can tear Principal Shepard apart, Chris actually steps up to defend him. He explains that since the school budget gets slashed every year, Shepard is just doing what he has to do to fund their education. Sure, he's bringing in incredibly crumpled, sticky money that's probably riddled with diseases, but it's still money. It might be the end of Chris's directing career, but it was nice to see him finally find his true calling. Moving on to number 2 on our sus list, we have Season 14, Episode 13, An App a Day. What happens when a teenage boy gets his very first smartphone and makes the ultimate texting mistake? Well, Chris goes to extreme medical lengths to permanently squash his urges, only for it to backfire in the most hilarious way. Let's get into it. The chaos starts when Chris finally gets a smartphone with a camera and texting capabilities. Naturally, he does exactly what you'd expect a misguided, hormonal teenager to do. He actually writes out a pros and cons list to figure out if sending a spicy picture of his junk to a girl at school is a good idea. Spoiler alert, it definitely isn't. If he had just texted her a picture of some actual peonies instead of his peenie, things would have gone a lot better. He sends the highly inappropriate photo, and the backlash is immediate.
Oh my god.
And apparently the girl
Oh, thank God.
he sent it to doesn't like him back, so she turned him in.
He quickly gets labeled as a total creep around school, faced with living the rest of his life as an absolute outcast.
We know you didn't mean any harm, Chris. We're just living in a different time. When I was your age, boys used to just whip it out on the bus.
Chris decides he needs to take drastic measures to prove he's changed. And by drastic, I mean he casually announces to Lois and Peter that he has had himself chemically altered to completely eliminate his physical urges.
Why the hell would you do that?
Now nobody will have any reason to be afraid of me or think I'm a pervert.
Though honestly, his new look, pulling his pants all the way up to his chest, isn't exactly making him look less creepy to the general public. Surprisingly, this extreme decision actually works wonders at first.
Chris, that's great.
Not only that, I got the highest score on my Spanish test and I even joined the debate team.
Without his brain being constantly clouded by dirty thoughts, Chris suddenly excels at everything else. He becomes way sharper and more focused. I mean, as sharp as a kid like Chris can possibly be, but it's still a huge improvement. This new, refined Chris even manages to approach the girl he sent the picture to. He gives her a genuine apology, explaining that he isn't that guy anymore and she actually forgives him. They share a really sweet moment, until she gently touches his shoulder. That single brief brush of skin is literally all it takes to completely undo a truckload of medical chemicals. Chris's brain immediately short-circuits, and he snaps right back to his old ways, frantically screaming for someone to bring him nude art books. Hey, at least he gained a newfound appreciation for the fine arts, right? His method might have been wildly sus, but taking that level of accountability to fix his mistakes is weirdly respectable for a guy like Chris. Coming in at number 3 on our sus list is Season 20, Episode 20, The Jersey Boar. What happens when a teenage boy joins the school play just to legally mandate a kiss from his crush? Well, the plan completely falls apart when Stewie becomes a tyrannical director, leading to a very questionable casting change. Let's break it down. It all starts when Chris bumps into the new girl at school, Heather. He quickly learns she just landed the starring role of Juliet in the school's upcoming play. And get a load of this title. Ruth's Chris's Principal Shepard's Baz Luhrmann's William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I guess the subtle art of naming things has officially been lost forever.
Wow, you're Juliet in Ruth's Chris's Principal Shepard's Baz Luhrmann's William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet?
But Chris realizes something genius. If he manages to earn the role of Romeo, he will be legally obligated to kiss Heather on stage. It's in the contract. Look it up. So, he enlists a little help from Stewie to prepare for the audition.
Do you think you could give me some pointers?
It will be my great honor. That was also acting.
Surprisingly, Chris absolutely nails it and lands the part. Though, honestly, considering it's a high school play, he probably could have just thrown up right on stage and still gotten the lead. Sure, Leonardo DiCaprio is a great actor, but can he vomit on command like a true thespian? Didn't think so. Things seem to be going great until Stewie and Principal Shepard start clashing over the creative direction of the play.
Take it further.
Of course, absolutely take it further, but in the opposite direction.
Who's in charge here?
I'm starting to wonder that myself.
Stewie ends up stepping in, staging a full-on coup, and taking over as the sole director. He immediately starts demanding Oscar-level performances, completely forgetting that he's at a high school, where literally every hour is amateur hour. Stewie's overly harsh critiques completely break Heather down. She decides to back out and quit the play entirely before Chris can even get a single smooch in. Chris laments his loss with actual Shakespearean flair. The irony is, he finally succeeded at becoming a true actor, even if it cost him the girl he wanted. But the show must go on, right? Now they just desperately need a new Juliet. Surely there is another talented girl at the school to take her place? Nope, it's Stewie. It was always going to be Stewie. Let's just say Chris sharing romantic stage chemistry with his infant brother definitely earns its spot on the sus list. Coming in hot at number 4, we have Season 12, Episode 18, Baby Got Black. What happens when Chris finally lands a girl who is way out of his league, but her dad absolutely forbids it? Well, it leads to a forbidden teenage romance, a grand escape, and a highly sus motel meetup. Let's get into it. It all starts when the Griffins are out for a nice family dinner. Out of nowhere, Chris is approached by a classmate named Pam, who turns out to be Jerome's daughter. She compliments a book report he gave and starts heavily flirting with him right in front of the live lobster tank. Pam goes right in for a kiss, and just like that, they're an official couple. This is a massive cause for celebration in the Griffin household. Why? Because Peter is genuinely shocked that she's not heavily overweight. He literally tells Chris he figured the day he brought a girl home, they'd have to back her through the garage. Thanks for the amazing vote of confidence, Dad.
Dad, if this is about Pam...
Yes, it is about Pam. And I have something to say. Chris, she's not fat.
What?
But not everyone is thrilled about the new romance. Jerome forbids the relationship because he doesn't want Pam dating a white boy.
You and me have to talk.
What's up, Blood?
Nobody's dating nobody. You understand?
Peter tries to fix things by inviting Jerome and Pam over for dinner, hoping to prove they're a totally normal, upstanding family. But Jerome quickly realizes the problem isn't their race. The problem is that they are the Griffins. Jerome still refuses to give them his blessing.
Look, I know what this is about. You're being all nice just so your son can get into my daughter's pants.
Dad, stop it.
So the two lovebirds decide to take destiny into their own hands. Later that night, Jerome bursts into the Griffin house demanding to know where his daughter is, revealing she left a note saying she ran off with Chris. So what's the master plan for these two runaways? Well, they get a cheap motel room. And what do teenagers try to do in a motel?
Then I'll leave you alone to get undressed and under the covers. And I'll be right back.
Luckily, Jerome and Peter manage to track them down and bust through the door right before anything PG-13 can actually happen. But seeing them together makes Jerome realize he was being way too harsh. He has a change of heart, admitting that his past experiences shouldn't stop this younger generation from teaching him a thing or two. A very sweet and reasonable thing to say, considering his teenage daughter is currently hiding under the covers with her boyfriend right in front of him. While this episode was mostly about Jerome growing as a person, we have to throw Chris some major props here. He managed to land a really cute girl by doing absolutely nothing.